So it's 9:03 at this time. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Looks like all board members are present. Has everyone had a chance to review the director's decisions, violation resumes, warning letters, and inactive status letters?
Yes.
Do we have a motion on those items? I have a motion. Do we have a second? Second. All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. We want to confirm the board dates as well right now.
Sure, we can do that.
Uh,
I think January 15th, I believe we already set. If we need to change that, let us know. And that will be at 9 o'clock in this room. We have February 19th, also at 9 o'clock. And then I believe we set all the way out to March, which is March 12th at 9 o'clock. If you guys want to set April 16th, it's always nice to the people who call so they can plan ahead as far as posting and stuff. But I understand if y'all don't want to go that far out. That's fine. So that would be April 16th would be the Wednesday. And we will do that at 9 o'clock in this room unless for some reason we are expecting a huge crowd, and we will let y'all know. And we'll continue to be in this, It's just in case there's something that comes up where we won't have enough seats, but really we can fit at least 25, I feel, ish in here, so I think we're good. And then do you want me to go ahead and go through the PowerPoint, or should we try the first hearing?
Let's just go ahead and knock the PowerPoint out.
Okay. Go ahead, Laura. All right, so our seminar in December, we had 48 people attending, and the next seminar is January 3rd. Again, we just moved this to the first Friday of the month to keep it consistent, make sure it didn't conflict with any board days or any seminars in our meeting room over at 1550. We will have a spring law clerk, and we are also in the process of interviewing for the marijuana attorney position. Holly resigned, and so we are still looking for someone smart and quick to fill her role. So if you guys know anybody, send them our way, but we do have at least 4 interviews, I think, coming up. So we've got good applicants. On the breakdowns for ABC offers, there were 24 offers accepted, covering 34 violations and a fine amount of just over $13,000. We have been busy. We do have directors hearings scheduled out to January. They just keep coming pretty consistently, so that's good. We're not overwhelmed by them, but they are consistent, which is what we expect to see. On the marijuana side of things, we had 6 offers go out that covered 145 violations and 2 warnings. We received back fines in the amount of just over $50,000 on that side. We attended the CANRA conference in San Diego. That was Director Potter, myself, and some of the staff attorneys. This was the first time that the attorneys got to go. And we learned a lot, like so much. There's lots of hemp discussions. We learned from regulators from all over, from Georgia to California, which those programs look incredibly different, as does ours look from any other state. What essentially we learned is that every state is doing something completely different, and it's a little chaotic in the marijuana space in pretty much every state that has any type of legal marijuana. And then we also went to some cultivation tours, which are always fun to go. If you guys haven't been, please reach out to me and we'll make sure that you can go see at least one of them. All right, so I told you guys that I would fill you in on some of the legislation that's either been brought to the agency to review or that we have heard is coming. After we made this slide, we heard probably about 3 more things. So with the way that some of this last minute stuff happens before legislative session, hopefully most people are running stuff by us, but there is still time for people to be coming up with ideas, working on drafts. So we expect to see stuff last minute as well. So the first one that we believe is coming would take high population counties, and it would allow people to own more than 1 liquor store, but only in those high population counties.
Over 200,000. Right?
Correct, and it would only allow 3 permits. So it's not just like going from 1 to unlimited. It's going from 1 to 3. The second idea we've heard about is we believe that there is some illegal shipping happening in the state of Arkansas. We don't know exactly how big the problem may or may not be because it's tougher enforcement when it's going direct to a consumer's home to be able to track that down. So there is going to be a bill that
Retail's that, not wholesale.
correct. That basically will explain or will help us try to figure out how big this problem is. And it will require FedEx and UPS to report in what they are shipping that contains alcohol. There's a label when they pick up from these stores that they put on that they know that it has alcohol in it. They do this in other states, so we believe it should be kind of clicking a button for them to do the same reporting in Arkansas. And it is on FedEx and UPS so that we will know how big the problem is for inevitably maybe some sort of legislation involving direction.
And Christy, are we targeting, like what volume are we targeting? Are these like large shipments of a certain size, like packets, or is it individuals?
We're trying to find out.
Okay.
I think we're going to try to figure it out by the gallon. I believe that's how most of the reporting is done in other states is by gallonage. But if you think about that on a practical level, I'm a UPS guy and I'm going to Trader Joe's and they're handing me a couple cases with bottles of wine. How do I know the gallonage? I'm sure there's some sort of math equation involved somewhere that somebody knows, but there are still some practical questions that we're going to have to find out.
One thing they can guarantee you is the weight, so you might consider the weight of it,
Yeah.
and you can always calculate fluid ounces, but you'll never know fully how many gallons are in a box that's this size, that may be
Exactly.
full of paper. But FedEx knows the weight 100% of the time.
Exactly, and this is one that has been kind of addressed with others in DFA2, higher up, Secretary Hudson, and he asked some of the similar questions, and we challenged the people bringing that bill to make sure that they have that cleared up by the time it comes forward.
Yeah, because you could easily figure out it's about 8 pounds, 8 pounds per gallon. So liquor would probably be a little bit heavier.
The same way, I mean, we ship millions of gallons of water around the country every year.
Yeah.
They just want to know how much it weighs.
Yeah.
They know exactly how much.
And do you have some label that says obviously what is in it, or?
Yes,
It says liquid.
Yes, it said liquid.
So this would be kind
All
of
the markings have to be on box.
Yeah.
And they want to know those because if it leaks, they can find box real quick.
exactly. And it's our understanding that these common carrier reporting laws are in 19 states. So we have challenged the people who are working on this to look at similarly situated states to us and see if they can kind of piggyback some ideas on them. The third one we heard about is a third-party delivery permit. Maybe y'all know this about me, maybe you don't. I do not want to create more permits. We have too many permits. We have some permits that nobody has. I don't think they've really been kept up with and organized throughout the years. They've kind of been added to. And so I wasn't super thrilled about this at first. However, I do think it is modernizing the industry. And it is something that we don't want to become a loophole and an issue, so we want to catch it now. So this would be allowing, right now, certain retailers can deliver with by independent contractor. This would be opening that up to a few more retailers, and it would allow them to use a third-party delivery service to do that with certain conditions and restrictions. Obviously, they can have a reminder, all those same things that other card holders would have. And it would also give us the authority to promulgate rules as needed, so the agency can make sure that that legislation is enforced correctly.
Is the intent, I know the intent is behind certain large corporate stores that are based in the state to be able to deliver product, but will it, in that same rule, do you order from like a restaurant on like a DoorDash? Do you get like drinks through that as well, or is it?
That's a good question.
It's only off premises, though. It's not meant to be like the to-go drinks. It's meant to be,
You could get wine essentially, or beer or something from a
Yes.
liquor store.
and I believe there's like 6 different retail permits. I think restaurant is in there specifically, isn't it?
No, it's all, so it's, which restaurants already have their to-go and delivery rules.
I didn't know like if you went to a third party like a DoorDash, that a restaurant could deliver via DoorDash alcohol.
Not under-
It's one of them.
Not under this section with this change. If
Yeah.
it may or may
Or
not
how
be
it is like right now.
under the to-go, that was pushed out in COVID. It may or may not be able to, and we can check back on that under certain circumstances and certain retailers, yes. But under this, it will not be that way. I think it may have a restaurant in there, but it's for the purpose of like a bottle of wine.
Yeah.
So it's like
no open container.
correct. It is not meant for that, and I think it does say something in there
But
about that.
there is, a current law that allows the to go and delivery stuff, it specifically states that they can't use a third party delivery system, so I think that is.
Going back to the number one, so liquor store quota, would a large supplier like a Sam's Club, would that qualify as a liquor store? Okay. So
What they're
we
trying to do
essentially
is-
have 3 Sam's Clubs in the state of Washington County here.
Well, what they're trying to do is,
Last year.
like a Walmart is wanting to compete with Costco and
Yeah.
Little Rock. And if Walmart or a store like Walmart was to have a liquor license in
Yeah.
Benton County, Washington County, and Pulaski, then when you layer in the third party, now that company could deliver anything through their app to anyone in the 3 largest cities.
And then after we made this slide, we heard of a few other things, kind of not as fleshed out ideas too. So we've not seen legislation or draft language or anything about this. An ABV bill pulls beer up to 12.5%. Maybe a spirits shipping rule that's kind of modeled after Kentucky. And then there was one other. It's written on our board. Well, I'm ready to have to look if we don't remember it, but it'll take in a few minutes. But there was at least one other rumor we heard about.
There's one out of Russellville that they are looking at amending the rules to where private or dry counties can purchase through wholesale.
We haven't seen anything on that.
I've heard about that one.
Okay.
Basically trying to make it to where, businesses, if they have to buy through a liquor store, they're gonna not get the savings as they buy through like a wholesale operation. And so it puts them at a competitive disadvantage. And so I think there's a legislator up there that's trying to, because Russell's still dry, right?
Yes, I believe so.
So I think there's a legislator up there that is trying to make it to where businesses in that market can be competitive on buying it, at prices similar to in wet counties.
And I think I should go ahead and mention now too, if y'all haven't heard, Trent Minner is leaving as part of his position as administrator of regulatory is to kind of help on policy and legislation and stuff too. So this will be something that falls on me, which I'm happy to take the challenge, but this is our first time going through this. So we're gonna have lots of questions, lots of things going on, but it is my understanding that a lot of these bills will not make it far because people within the industry are all going to have their competing interests, and the agency representation is really just there to provide information, ask questions, and make sure that we're protecting y'all and my staff by not passing something that's impractical for us to enforce or do administration on. So that's really the goal this season. I know we have a few things we want to clean up too. We could have found hundreds. But we don't want to do too much and mess anything up. We want to make sure we have a manageable amount of things to go through, especially given lack of resources we're currently being managed with me going in there for the first time on tobacco, marijuana, and alcohol. So it'll be a busy season, but I'm ready for it. And if you guys need anything, you got my cell phone number, so please reach out. Okay, legal update. We were successful at the circuit court level on the Green Springs revocation appeal. He has appealed that decision. So now we're going up to the Court of Appeals. We'll let y'all know as we know more.
If he doesn't get approved there, can he appeal it to the Supreme in Arkansas?
Yes. Okay, in the news, Fayetteville, Sunday alcohol sales. We got so many questions about this. Everyone wanted to make sure they were doing things right. And really, a lot of these local ordinances that changed or laws that changed, the requirement to ABC is to just notify us so that we know to enforce it. We don't certify the election results, they provide that to us. And then we just say, okay, go for it. So we got a lot of questions about that. But as far as I'm understanding, full swing now. Slide. All right, medical marijuana sales up 23% this year, but revenue is down. We also had a transfer of ownership that garnered a little bit of publicity recently.
That last bit of legislation that we've heard about is ready to drink products in grocery stores and convenience stores. So wholesalers, the beer wholesalers are already allowed as of last session to sell these products, but they can't be sold to anyone that doesn't have a liquor permit. So they're only allowed to sell those basically to restaurants. This would allow everybody that has ready to drink products at the wholesale level to sell these to pretty much all retailers now. And then it would allow the convenience stores and the grocery stores to carry a vodka soda in a can instead of just the malt liquor seltzers and the beer.
Thank you, Drew. I knew there was one more. But like I said, some of these will come in last minute. So I'm expecting more or some that we haven't even heard of yet. But hopefully most people who have these ideas are running it by us so that we can look and say, because we have seen some stuff in some of the earlier drafts of these where we were like, no, we don't have the staff for that, or that doesn't make sense, or we don't do that for any other permit. Why would we create an exception for it all? So we've had to really have a close eye on some of these to make sure that they're practical. All right, I think that is all we had on that front. We want to try to move on to our hearing.
Yeah, absolutely. In the effort of expediency, because the second hearing, I think will be the fast one, is Mr. James Hall.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Hall, if you want to please slide up here, and if you have anyone else with you or representing you, you're welcome to right here. Perfect. Mr. Hall, if you have anyone else, and does the state have anyone else planning on speaking on this hearing today?
Can I pause for just 1 second? Lila, do we need to use the mics today, yes or no? No. Okay, thank you.
Okay, if it's just the two of y'all, then we're gonna have you swear in real quickly, so if you could raise your right hand for me. You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think this one can be handled pretty much by explanation. So this was a case that originated with previous staff attorneys, and when their response, which requested a hearing, was mailed to us, ABC never received it. So we don't know where it got lost in the shuffle. So by virtue of not receiving it, it was treated as an accepted offer where they were meeting to appeal it. So it was on y'all's resume as an approved accepted offer. When we reached out to them and said, hey, you haven't paid, they're like, whoa, no, we wanted to appeal that. So upon learning more information and hearing about the story, essentially the facts of the case are 2 individuals appeared quite intoxicated, were immediately removed from a bar, were arrested by police. They were asleep, rolling around, fighting in the grass. Upon further review of the police reports and the video, we do not believe this was intoxication by alcohol. We think that there was a lot of other things at play here that led into the behavior that occurred at the establishment. So we are requesting that the board will vote to change this to a warning. And the only reason why it has to come to y'all is because procedurally, we already accepted it. If it had gone to a director's hearing and if I had seen the facts or reviewed the video at that time, I would have issued a warning.
So procedurally, we need to make a motion to not uphold the director's decision and to issue a warning
Correct.
on behalf of Mr. Hall at the Betty's Big Country Dance Hall.
Correct.
Okay.
Do you guys want to discuss, or should we just go ahead and make a motion?
Does any board members have any further questions or points for discussion?
Let me just make a motion.
Okay. Steve, would you like to make a motion?
Case of James Hall, Betty's Big Country Dance Hall, 21541-01 in Cato Valley, restaurant Miss Drinks. I make a motion that ABC issue our
That we
overturn the director's decision and issue a warning. 20 days.
This is your
You would
warning.
just say issue a warning.
Just issue a warning for the violation.
I'll second that.
Okay, all in favor? Motion carries. Thank you all for coming in.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Steve, I'm gonna push it all on you then.
Wait, I'm supposed to be
Your last motion.
on the easy street.
Gotta hate you a little bit last time. I don't think this is gonna replace you. Okay, at this time, we got one other hearing. We've got, we have Mr. Roosevelt Peltz in here. Mr. Peltz, if you'd like to come up here. And if you have any legal counsel or anyone else that's kind of, presenting your case, you're welcome to have them sit with you.
Do you guys have legal counsel or just Mr. Pelt and a witness? Okay, okay. So this is the permit holder and a witness, but he does not.
And which one's the permit holder? So you got, okay, but which one do you want, Mr. James Hall?
No, Rick.
Okay, sorry, I looked at the second one, second group. Mr. Roosevelt, which one?
Aye.
Okay, and what's your name, sir?
Percy.
Percy. Okay, are you all the two, is anyone else that will be giving testimony from you all today? Does the state have anyone else? Is there any ABC enforcement officer being sworn?
Yes, and if we could start with one, our other enforcement officers on the way.
Okay, well, we'll just swear her in when she gets there. So, Mr. and Mr. Pelt, if you could raise your right hands, and then the ABC officers, we got one, okay? These swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. At this time, the state will kind of start presenting their side as they bring, the officer up forward. They'll ask their questions. You have a chance to cross-examine them. Then once they've had their side, you have a chance to present, your witnesses, evidence, and then there'll be a closing, statement from both sides. Kind of the procedural of how we'll go today. All good? All right, let's proceed.
All right, we will start with Agent Boyd.
Yeah.
First. So today's hearing is an appeal of the director's denial for a permit. The denial comes based on a residency requirement. Twice we've had agents go out and try to determine residency for Mr. Roosevelt Pelt and have been unable to do so. So that is the reason for the denial. Our rules do require that our permit holders live in the same county or within 35 miles of the address of the business. So I will go ahead and get started with Agent Boyd. Agent Boyd, did you do an inspection for this permit application?
Yes, ma'am.
And when was that first inspection?
July 16th.
What were your findings when you did this inspection?
I drove to the location of the outlet and didn't find anyone there. I called Mr. Pelt and left him a voicemail. I needed to speak to him regarding his application. While at the premises, I noticed that it was zoned commercial. It appeared to be zoned commercial. There didn't appear to be living quarters in the outlet or associated with the outlet. So that prompted me to look up the application itself, and I noticed that Mr. Pelt had an ID card among those documents. An ID card showed an address of 306 Cherry, which was the same address as the proposed outlet. Also in the application, I noticed that Mr. Pelt's address was in Michigan, Detroit, Michigan. So I kind of stopped what I was doing and waited until I could talk to him on the phone. And eventually I did talk to Mr. Pelt on the phone.
And what you find out at that point?
He confirmed that he did live in Detroit, Michigan, and that his brother, Percy, lived in Clarksville, Mississippi. And Mr. Pelt told me that he was under the impression that an applicant could live 35 miles from the proposed outlet. He didn't understand that they had to live within the state. I kind of clarified that for him. That was about all we spoke of.
Okay. And did you have any further conversations with Mr. Pelt?
No, ma'am.
Right. Just 1 second. And Mr. Pelt's driver's license, did you ever see that?
I saw his Arkansas ID card, which was among the documents in the application. And I ran Roosevelt Pelt in ACIC, the Crime Information Center, and discovered that he had a Michigan Michigan driver's license that had the same address that he had included in the application. So it appeared to me, prior to talking to him, that he lived in Michigan and that the Arkansas ID card just had the address of the proposed outlet on it. for that reason, I cannot explain why he did that. You would have to answer that.
And what were your actions after finding out that he did not live at this address? And that there was no living quarters on the address of the business?
I wrote in my narrative in the assignment my findings and that I could not, the application couldn't proceed based on the information that I had at that time.
Thank you, Agent Boyd. I have no further questions.
Mr. Pelley, you have an opportunity to ask Agent Boyd any questions you have for him. So,
Question, but say I changed my address. I used to live in.
and Mr. Boyd, you'll get a chance to kind of give testimony at the very end. So right now, it's just kind of a chance
Just
to
a
ask.
question.
Yeah, just questions for him. Any questions? Okay.
If we could take a 5-minute recess and see if our officer can make it down.
Okay,
for
no, perfect.
testimony, we have to-
Yeah. We're hereby holding a 5-minute recess.
Okay, thank you.
So you're doing much so much.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
I mean, I'll have to
Like this.
This conference will now be recorded.
You know, in the effort of being respectful of the palatable, we'll now resume. We have the other agent princess has arrived.
Yes, Agent Nancy.
Agent Fancy,
Oh, I don't remember.
First name.
It is Princess Nancy.
Okay.
You're fine.
And she'll need to swear in as well.
Okay, agent, do you want to come forward? It's Miss Dancy, what's that next right name? Miss Dancy, when you get a chance to sit down, you could raise your right hand for us. I swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God. All right, thank you. Please proceed.
And just one thing, we're not using the microphones today, so.
So Agent Dancy, did you do an investigation for the permit application of Sensational Lounge in Arkansas?
Yes,
When was that investigation?
not sure of the exact day.
Okay. And you were the second agent to do this investigation, is that correct?
Correct, that was to verify residency.
And what were your findings?
I arrived at a location, and I knocked on the door. It was a pinkish colored house. I did take photos of it. There was a Monte Carlo in the driveway. I knocked on the door, kind of peeked around just to hear if I heard anything inside. I didn't hear anything. I went to the next door neighbor's house as well to try to get information on who lived there. Nobody went to the door.
And was this the same, this was a different address provided from the first investigation, is that
I'm
correct?
not familiar with what the first address was.
Okay. And was there a car in the driveway at this home?
Yes, a Monte Carlo.
And did you run the tags on that car?
I did not. I ran it through our TLO system, and I also, I believe I included that into the report. That's not a 28 run. That's just a general run of the tag to see who's the owner.
And who was the owner of that vehicle?
I have to confirm.
Was it either Mr. Thomas?
It was not.
Okay. And at that point, what was your next step in this application process?
I took photos of the house, photos of the car, and
And with the application, then what was your finding for this investigation?
I could not be able to prove that he stayed there. I had no, basically proof of anything, that proved his residency there.
Right.
And if I may, just one more question, did you ever meet either Mr. Pell?
I've never been.
This is your first time seeing him?
Correct.
All right.
I also left the car in the door. I left multiple cars in the door. There was a metal screen door with metal black bars, and I stuck it inside. So they, whoever lived there could give me a call if they had any questions, or at least to see what my issues were.
And did you ever receive a call from anyone? I have no further questions for Agent Dancy.
Mr. Pell, do you have any questions for Ms. Dancy at this time? Okay.
One question.
Sure.
You said you left your car in the door.
It was.
And just the car with your name.
I didn't leave any kind of meetings because if that was not your residence, I'm not gonna inform someone else for the reasoning of me being there. At what point you would have called me, I would have then explained it, but stated that wasn't your residence. I'm not gonna let them know, what I'm saying, what's going on and who exactly that I'm looking for.
Does the board have any questions for Agent Dancy? Is there anyone else who'd like to bring forward?
Yes, I would like to ask Director Parks a couple questions.
Okay,
I can just stay sitting over here.
that's perfect.
Okay, great.
I'm sure.
Oh, I need to swear. Sorry, I forgot. I don't normally testify. I promise to tell the truth.
You swear to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. You may proceed.
Thank you. Director Yorkson, you denied this permit, and what was your reasoning?
So basically the process is I get the final application when it is ready to go to board, all conditions have been met, you can prove that this applicant is who they say they are, where they live, and what they're gonna do. I never received an application that I could approve because no agent was able to verify residence. We have to prove residence within 35 miles. On several attempts, that was not done. Thus with Mr. Peltz called our office and that was explained that we just needed to prove residency. So I believe my staff did everything they could to try to help either Mr. Peltz get licensed.
And were there any other reasons why you denied this permit?
Yes, so I denied on the grounds of the residency requirement. That is a point blank requirement. There was another issue that was self-reported within the paperwork that led me to believe that one of the owners of the business had a felony in a different state. We asked them to provide us information about that, whether it had been sealed, expunged. We never received anything, so that would have been a second issue that I would have flagged before it came to you guys anyways.
Mr. Appellant, do you have any questions for the director? Anyone else at this time?
I was just closing.
Okay. Mr. Appellant, do you have any witnesses you want to bring forth at this time? Give testimony?
About 4.
And if you don't, you can just do kind of like a closing, make your statement if you like. We don't have witnesses to call for.
The address that's the video 737 here is the address. Living there with my cousin.
What's that address?
737 here.
How do you spell that?
A-A-R.
A-R-O-N?
A-A-R.
I'm sorry, is that in Helena?
So,
West
Please continue.
as far as this, felony that my brother had, we submitted everything to the board. I don't know why it is that you don't have it.
Yeah, like say, they said a felony, I had a felony back in 2000. And I went to the county, got the paperwork and sent it back to them that telling this, everything that went through. And I talked to the lawyers that I had at that time. He was supposed to get back with one of the lawyers here. And he said he had talked to him and explained something. And then I called about a couple weeks ago. I was trying to get in touch with him to see what they on the process was. And I talked to someone, I can't remember the name, and he told me, he said, well, we were trying, I had talked to him, when I talked to the lawyer, was trying to see if we could get things, get something together, to get your license out. And after that, I didn't talk to anyone else until they said that we had to come here. But I did go to the county and I sent the paperwork here. Yeah. What had happened. Matter of fact, I put it on my application, and it was the application had been here for a long time. Well, I haven't heard anything back, or they actually had a felony within the last so many years, and I put it there because I did have a felony, and I put it down here and what had happened, and everything had been taken care of like 2003. I had went through everything and paid off the fine and did all that stuff. And I went to the county and got it. They picked from Duke County back to ABC. I back here. And after that, they called me back and I talked to the lawyer, actually the lawyer that represented me during that time. He was still around. I went to Clarksville and found me. I talked to a lawyer from here And they put me together, they didn't give me the number. And I called the lawyer, he said he did talk to me. They straightened out, like, that's what I noticed.
You're Mr. Percy Pell,
Yes.
but you're not a permittee on the applicant. You're just,
Yeah, I'm with this department. Yeah.
Right. Both names in the application.
so in that regards, it would be applicable for us if he is listed as on the permittee and he's not listed here.
Can't even employ a felon.
He's a 50% on your business.
Okay.
But today's issue is really the residency requirement. There was additional testimony based on other reasons that it could have been denied, but it was denied on residency because it could never be presented.
That's just gonna be a blanket. First thing that we look for is, do you live within that county or within 35 miles?
Mr. Roosevelt, do you have any other documentation to show that you're currently living there full time? Do you have a lease? Do you have bills? Do you have driver's license? Do you have anything to show that you're actually, that can prove that you're living there?
I'm living with my cousin.
Is he not here to testify that you're living with him?
So say bills, you pay the water bill, it's in your name, so it shows residence or anything like that. That's pretty much yours.
I'm also curious about the Detroit license that you have. So did you live in Detroit at one time?
I
Do you live between Detroit and Helena?
No, I lived in Detroit, from Detroit last year. So that's the only one.
So then when you moved to Arkansas, you didn't surrender your Michigan license? Oh, you did, okay. But you don't have a driver's license in Arkansas, you have an Arkansas ID, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, and we kind of got off topic. So, Mr. Peltz, if y'all have got any other testimony or, witnesses you want to call forward, if not, we'll have an opportunity for the state to close, and then there'll be an opportunity for the board to kind of deliberate based off the information we have at this time.
And if I could have just 1 minute.
So today's issue really is the residency requirement here. That was the reason for the director's denial. With two agents doing two different investigations, receiving second address, and then going out and finding that no one lived at that place, could be contacted, numbers left, and no bill, no lease, nothing that shows us that Mr. Powell is a resident in the state of Arkansas. We have no reason to believe that he does live where he is saying that he lives. Additionally, we do have the issue of a part owner having a felony in his criminal background. And his testimony is correct. All we have been trying to figure out if that had been sealed and expunged. And speaking with his attorney, regarding the paperwork, it has not been. So the grounds on denial are that he is not a resident in the state of Arkansas and he is required to live in any county for 35 miles. We also have the rule that you comply with your agent. And if you're just not answering the phone, not coming to the door, if he was at home, not calling back, that's also something that ABC finds issue with. And we ask that you uphold the director's decision to deny this permit.
And what I was just kind of trying to sort of here that I'll add is we have to be able to prove to get y'all a complete application. And so if y'all were to allow this application, he would immediately be in violation. We cannot approve an application that will allow someone to be breaking the requirements of said application. That's why it's done.
We have historically, before you were here, as a board, we have waived the distance requirement in some of these small towns, but we've never waived it where someone was, living in another state within that 35 miles, which is, I believe, a different scenario, that I don't think there's anywhere we can even legally do that. The one question I would have is, with an application like this, if we uphold a director's decision and the application is denied, and then they were to come back and reapply and have a lease or utilities or all those kind of things, is this one of those situations if we uphold the director's decision, they have to wait a year, or how does that work?
When that came up at the last board hearing, I was like, whoo, let's go look back into what exactly those circumstances are. So Drew and I did some research, and what it is you cannot reapply for a year unless there's a substantial change in the underlying facts, which supported the denial. So I think if the main fact is a residency requirement and that main fact changes, then he would not be automatically barred from reapplying if he became compliant. So I do think there is a little bit of a grace there, and I do think, again, it would either come to my discretion or y'all's discretion to say if it was a substantial change in fact.
Mr. Pellet, are you tracking what we're saying? Okay. The board has not obviously voted at this point, but we are presented with limited evidence to kind of overturn based off of what the information that the agency had at this time. But if we were to have more information, the residency component could be potentially reviewed again in a new application, but that wouldn't address the situation if you had a partner that had a felony that's not expunged. That would be another reason for it to be not approved in the future. And also, a felon cannot be an employee.
There's certain circumstances where they can have certain jobs, but generally felons are not allowed to be employed.
So that would be another point from a business operations perspective on how you plan to operate this business. If there are limitations to what your brother and partner can do based off of previous, things and where those felonies sit currently with the information that we have. That all makes sense.
So if it was, which they expunged, then there would be a difference.
Well, I'm not an attorney, so I can't give legal advice, but I think that would be a different situation for the ABC staff to review if his felony was in a different category than where it is right now with the data that they have. So I would recommend talking to an attorney on any and all options on that front. Does the ABC have any other? From the board's perspective, any other questions for anyone or thoughts or ideas?
No, I completely agree with you. I think the burden of proof is on Mr. Pell to prove that he actually is a resident where he says he is. And so that's what's made it really tricky for us.
Any other questions? Steve, do you want to make a motion?
The last motion is me. No, we want you to do it.
In the case of held sensational lounge application number P9796-01, mixed drink. Yeah. And allow 306 Cherry Hill in Arkansas. I make a motion to be uphold the director's decision based on the fact that we don't have enough information concerning residency. And so for those reasons, I would say my motion is that we uphold the director's decision.
Okay. We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Mr. Pell, thank you for coming in today. We want to work with you if we can. We just have to have, the information. So don't hesitate to reach out to the agency office if you have any other questions. I think I can say most everyone here is pro-business. So we want you to be successful. We just got to have the information in order for them to do what they do to follow the letter of the law. But thank you guys for coming in today. If there's no other things in front of the
I
board,
have one other thing.
okay.
Steve, thank you so much for all of your time on the ABC board. For those of y'all who don't know, Steve has decided to retire from the ABC board. We have a little certificate for you. Thank you so much for everything that you've done. And Alex, I'm gonna sign this one, so it's going to be official.
All right.
Sorry, I didn't get to do that before. But we thank you so much for Steve for everything that you did, and we're gonna miss you here on the board.
It's been a pleasure. It's been to get to know other people in other parts of the state. I've been with her at several meetings over the years, so
Long time.
I'll be in Northwest Arkansas. You need to look this up.
Oh.
I know the agents up there, we get together quite often, so it's that's some of the stuff that I'll miss. Is some of the people.
Well, don't be a stranger if you ever just want to come sit in a meeting. And it's Northwest. We're just like, I'm not a stranger.
Yeah.
What? Yeah.
Absolutely.
We'll be missed.
So if you need a substitute, maybe I don't know.
We'll bring in for challenging one. Well, then at this point, officially, we are adjourned. Thank you all for coming in today. And if it looks like you might have a question or two, if you want to ask them, we're all in for recess.
And yeah, we can have somebody meet with you and answer any questions that you need. And we do have some cookies in the bag. I didn't want to embarrass you too much, but hopefully it will stay and have to with Steve.
There's also donuts back there that I've brought if anyone wants anything. I just felt bad eating some of that.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
All right.